Welcome to the Black Knight Nation podcast. I'm your host, Sal Interdonato. The Black Knight Nation podcast is brought to you by Higher Echelon, a trusted partner in organizational excellence ran by Joe Ross, former Army fullback, former Army assistant coach, and also officer in the United States Army. We appreciate Higher Echelon for sponsoring this podcast. We're bringing back Jeff Ejekam for the second time on the Black Knight Nation podcast, former Army wide receiver. Jeff, thanks for taking the time tonight.
I appreciate it, Sal. Thanks for having me, man.
No doubt. We were talking a little bit before we got started here about your weekend. I mean, the black and gold game was Friday, Army's annual spring game, and every year they pick honorary captains to be on the sidelines of each the black and the gold team. And you were selected to be an honorary captain this year. And you're a little bit removed from your playing days, right, Jeff? But I mean, that must have been a great first. When you got the phone call, probably right to or the contact to be an honorary captain, that must have been pretty cool. Just walk us through.
Definitely was a surreal moment. I would definitely say that. It was kind of a shock too because I was at work and just kind of at my desk and stuff like that. And then next thing I know, I get a text saying like, "Hey, would you be able to be an honorary captain?" And in my head, I'm like, honorary captains are probably they're like 10, 15, 20 years removed from West Point and stuff like that. And me just graduating 2018, I'm about 4 years removed. So I was like, man, this must be this is a pretty big deal to be getting called back so soon. And when I got there, it was nothing but love. Everybody embraced me. The last time I was actually at West Point was when I left from coaching at the prep school. So that was the last time I went. So that was about three and a half years ago. So it was definitely a surreal moment, just being able to be back at Mikey Stadium, meeting with the players, just talking to people and like running into different people, seeing the coaches and stuff like that. And it was definitely it was an honor, and just being alongside with the other honorary captains, it was a blessing for sure.
Yeah, you talked about John Voight, right? He was an honorary captain. You talked about former players from 1973 Army team that won the first Commander-in-Chief's trophy. I mean, that's what's great about the Army Football Brotherhood, right? The different generations of football players that you guys kind of share the same bonds. You were through the same things, so to speak. And man, I don't know if you had any conversations with the older grads, but that must have it's a pretty unique experience, probably.
No, yeah, me and John definitely visited with the other honorary captains. They were all from the '73 team, I believe, that won that first CIC, and they were just telling us all the stories that they had. And it's crazy, like no matter the year you play, no matter the year you go through West Point, you still forge these same sort of stories and bonds and brotherhood stuff that it like again, it doesn't matter what year you did it, you're always gonna have that camaraderie and that bond. And they were just telling us all the things. They were even laughing amongst themselves about the stuff that they did back in the day. And me and John were just really taking it in and enjoying it, just saying like, man, that's what we do now, and we're only 4 years removed, so it's only gonna get better and better, more stories and more stories as time goes on. And just being able to just sit down and just share with one another between the year gaps of the '73 team and just us being the 2018 team, it was amazing just to see the history in between and just talk about it. And you'll be surprised; those guys keep up with all Army football stuff. Like they were asking me questions like, "So how's this player doing? How's this player doing?" Da, da, da. I was like, "Oh wow!" I was like, y'all know more players than I even know more players." So
Yeah,
it's amazing, like just to see how invested, and like you were saying, like this brotherhood is far beyond just my class, and even 5 years, 10 years beyond, because we even have a group chat with the Army football team, and from ages, like it'll have 64 grads, 50 grads, like anything like that, and like you still communicate with these people, and it's almost like they know you and you know them, and you're just communicating every single day. It's really awesome to see.
were you able to get to your old locker there at Mikey Stadium, or were you thinking about putting the old 81 back on?
Yeah, so I went by. They already got somebody in my locker already, so it is what it is. But they set up a locker for all the honorary captains in the back. It was really cool to just see. I had a little paper thing like they have in the locker rooms, and it had my name, my number, and it just kind of brought back those memories. Like me and John, we were talking about it, the team meeting and everything like that. Just got us like, man, we about to go play again. Like, what's what's going on? We're about to suit up and get out there and go back to Mikey Stadium and let it go. But it's we always have that fight, especially when you are in a program like Army football. It's just like you're always going to have that fight in you, and you're always going to be instilled with the things that for me, Coach Monken put in my class, and stuff like that. And it's just like it's really unmatched. Like yeah, like I said, I felt like I was watching the game and I was like, I kept saying, I'm like, man, I need to grab a helmet, I need to grab some pads, I'm ready to get out there myself. Like it really just sets that environment is just something so surreal, so different that it puts a burning passion in you that you really just want to go out there and do whatever you can for the program. Like no matter if you're an old grad or not.
Yeah, you were talking about almost being at a loss for words still over the experience, right? And I guess that when you can connect to the current players, and I don't know if you would like to share or what maybe some of your words of wisdom were to them, so to speak. When you were there on Friday.
Yeah, so again, I kind of me only 4 years removed and being an honorary captain and even hearing Coach the words and the things that Coach Monkey had to say to me in front of the team and in the team meeting, it was just kind of surreal because when you're playing for the love of the game, you're playing for the love of the team, the love of the program, and you're just trying to give it your all. And once you're done, with the college route and college ball, it's like you've done everything you can. But to come back and see that all those efforts that you've had, like all the effort you put in, the grind that you put in is very much appreciated, not only by the staff, but players that came behind you. It was an unbelievable feeling. Like I had players come up to me that I didn't even know myself, and they would come up to me and be like, "Man, you're a legend, and I appreciate you. Like you've instilled something in us that we carry." I had guys that I coached at prep that came up to me and said, "Everything you said we're doing and it's working and we appreciate it and stuff like that." So it was definitely very, I wouldn't even say it was even emotional just because it's like you put so much effort into this program and you put your all in it. And Lord knows that I love this program so much. Like I still, like I said, I'm a super Army fan to the day I die. I will literally watch every game, yell at the TV, call plays like I'm still playing. Like so, it's amazing to see that that legacy that you're leaving it's lasting. It's not just something that's fleeting. So yeah, it was a surreal moment just seeing like all the love and the people coming up to me and even new coaches coming to me saying, oh, they've heard so much about me and the effort that I put in and just establishing that culture in the receiver room of just being the most physical receivers in college football, and that still stands. There's still a sign in the receiver room that still says it. So, yeah. Honestly, like I said, I can keep going on about it, but it was just simply just I was filled with joy and really filled with like a lot of appreciation, just knowing that the effort that I put in is being recognized, and it's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, you look at the current Army wide receivers right now. Isaiah Austin, we were talking about a little bit, and the talent that he has. Cole Catterbone, the toughness that Cole Catterbone has. They're high on a couple of younger receivers that have stepped up in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
Casey Reynolds and Cam Shore, a couple of those guys. But like you said, it's a mindset, right? I mean, when you play in this offense, you're not going to get the ball thrown to you about 10 times a game, but you have a job to do. And I thought that you're right. I remember the feature. It had to be your senior year before the Army-Navy game, right? That ESPN
Yeah.
did on you, right?
Yeah.
But man, that had a lot of impact, Jeff, right? That is probably where some of these younger guys might have saw you at first, maybe got the first look at what the position's all about.
Right.
And then man, you look at all the work that wide receivers have to put in the offense, it's more than just route running at West Point, no doubt.
100%.
Yeah. So, I mean, that like you said, just getting that feedback from younger players and even coaches that people that you didn't even know, you guys were a big part of that. I always call it the renaissance of Army football, right? I mean, just the run, what you guys had was something special, no doubt.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. It was a surreal moment, like because when my freshman class came in, I believe we went 4-8, and then sophomore year we went 2-10. And then the turnaround happened our junior year when we went 8-5, won the bowl game, beat Navy. And, a lot of people, it's crazy. You go around school, you go around fan base, and people were very much satisfied with those two things, just winning season, beating Navy, bowl game, like those three things. And the thing about, Coach Munkin and his mindset, his mentality that he instilled in our group is just like that. That's not enough. Like, until we win every single game and do it again repeatedly, we still have work to do. And even if we were to do that, I'm sure there's still room for improvement. That's one thing that Coach always harps on, is that there's always going to be room for improvement, no matter how great we play. And then just to go 10-3 and win that CIC trophy, and really put a stamp on, the legacy that our class had was very empowering. And then winning a bowl game against one of the most prolific players in college football, Rashad Penny, in San Diego State team. It was really surreal. And even going back to the whole receiver thing, like I circled back because it's like, for me to get that, that recognition and to, establish that culture, it means a lot, because like you said, we're not getting the ball 9 times a game. We're not getting the ball, we're not catching every single touchdown, this, that, and third, but with the chances that you do have, whether you're blocking or whether you're catching the ball, you got to make the most of it. And that's one thing that I did share with the group. It was like, this is the most unselfish position in this offense. And you have to look at it that way, because if you think selfishly and you wait that I'm not getting the ball and this, that, and the third, you're never going to be successful in this offense. And the thing about it is, if you are willing to block, if you are willing to do the dirty work, they're going to want to reward you with the ball, because now you're making everything look the same. So if I'm down blocking, and then I'm able to run my route like that down block, the defender's not going to know what the difference is. They don't know if I'm blocking or running route. So that was one thing that I definitely shared with them. I was like, the same effort you put in when you hear pass play is the same effort you got to do it when that run plays coming towards you and even going away from you, because a lot of the times it takes that one block to spring somebody free for a touchdown on a long run. And we've seen that multiple times in college football, period. If you're loafing on the backside, then, you could have been that person that helped score that touchdown. You know what I mean? So you may not have the ball in your hand, but you can still affect what happens with the ball. So I think that's one thing that at the receiver position is in the triple option offense that a lot of receivers need to embrace, is that the crowd might not see what you're doing, but you are very vital to that offensive play. So.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's definitely appreciation to play the position. Not, like you said, it's not for everybody, right? It's not, if you're a guy who is more of an individual guy, that position's probably not for you. If you're a guy that doesn't want to get a little dirty, that
Right.
position's not for you, right? I'm sure you weren't just blocking like defensive backs at points during your time, right? You're going up against some really tough defenders. I mean, you look at the teams that you guys played when you were there. I mean, there were some legit defensive guys, probably some guys that are playing on Sundays right now that you were going up against. So
one of the most memorable blocks that I will remember forever is just lining up against Ohio State and having to down block on the Bosa brother, which is just, you can take that for how it is. I held my own, but at the end of the day, it's not easy. And like that's a first round draft pick, and even same team facing Denzel Ward same year at the corner position, first round draft pick. There was a whole bunch of first round draft picks on that team, and we were able to stick with him for a little bit.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show that this program can stick with anybody, honestly.
There was no flinch in there.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Nick or Joey was that?
I'm not even gonna lie to you. I think it was the younger Bosa.
I think so too. I think it was Nick. Yeah, I think it was Nick. Yeah. That's I mean, but those games are the games that probably you would circle on the schedule, right? When you're going against those Power 5 teams. And unfortunately this year coming up, that game's not on the schedule because Tennessee backed out of that game.
Right.
And in the coming years, they're going to be the Power 5s back on the schedule for Army. But just hearing Coach Munkin talk after spring practice, Coastal Carolina will not be a joke at the first game of the season with the talent that they have and the quarterback that they have. So, I mean, he's probably a Heisman Trophy candidate, Grayson McCall. And that's a good test. That's
No,
almost
100%.
they're a top 25 team the last 2 years pretty much, and that's almost playing Power 5 type of football team,
No, 100%. 100%. Yeah, you can't let that's one thing Coach Munkin always harped on, and he's always harped on is that you can't take an opponent for this just Coastal Carolina or it's just the Citadel or it's just Villanova, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's still an opponent. You have to see that in that opponent, like you no matter what, you're lining up against somebody and you're gonna play football, right? If you're gonna lay down and try and take the gas off, that person's gonna hit you in the mouth. So you have to be ready for that at all times. It doesn't matter who it is. So we treat every single opponent as if it is a Power Five school, as if it is the best opponent that we are going to face, no matter what the stats may say, record may say, anything like that. Because at the end of the day, you have to treat every opponent the same. Because getting lax is how you lose games. That's how you lose a lot of football games, by getting lax.
It's a good mindset. And I think it was the COVID year 2020 where the Citadel came to West Point, right? And gave Army all it wanted because they played a similar style offense and the coaches were pretty familiar with what was going on. I believe our Orlando Mitchens was an assistant on that
Yeah.
staff that coached with Jeff Monken. And I mean, it seemed like they knew the plays before Army was calling them. So I don't know. I mean, that was just my impression, but
Oh
so,
yeah.
so the competition, yeah. Just when you go back, I mean, we had you on in our first couple earlier podcasts, and we talked about your playing days a little bit, but like you talked about the memories that you have, whether it's going to Ohio State, whether it's winning, the ending the Navy streak, right? Winning the Commander in Chief's trophies. Man, there's so many of them, but I think probably a lot of that has to do with the bond that you guys had as a team too, right? It wasn't so much what specifically you were doing on the field. It was seeing those the results, right?
No,
And
yeah,
all the hard
100%.
work that you guys put in.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the success that we had didn't even really it wasn't from the stuff that we did, in the weight room or in on practice. Like obviously if you work hard in those instances, then you're definitely going to be ready and prepared for that. But I would say what made my class specifically so strong and so close knit was that we literally spent time together outside of football. Like our friendships was just not in the locker room; it was outside the locker room. Like I said, John Trainer's house was our dojo. We would always go down to Harrington Park, get in the man cave, all 16, 17 of us hanging out in this one house, going out together. Everything we did was together. We were literally like this, our whole class. So I think that a lot of that had to do with it, just the things beyond football and establishing those relationships and bonds past football. It made being on the football field so much easier because you know that person to a T. You know that person from head to toe. You know what I mean? Inside and out. And when you have that type of mentality and when you have that type of camaraderie, it's really easy. Playing is secondhand nature. You've done the work in the weight room, you practiced, you studied your playbook. Now you got to do it with somebody else. When you're in sync with that person, it's so much easier to play that way. And honestly, I feel like our entire senior class had that type of mentality, and then we were able to bring it down to the other classes and kind of instill that type of mentality in them too.
Yeah, I mean that was a great senior class, right? We've had Ryan England on the podcast. We had Bryce Holland too. Talked about Josh Boylan, a guy. I was thinking of Josh Boylan today because I'm doing a preview for a magazine for Army. I'm trying to figure out who the top 5 offensive linemen are going to be, right? And I remember that Josh Boylan was a guy who was taking some reps at center, but you had Bryce Holland, right? So he slid over and played guard. And his senior year, man, he was he had a very strong season his senior year and was a really key part of the team, right? I mean, a guy who got his snaps maybe sophomore, junior year, but then senior year slid over, played guard, and maybe that's something that Army does this year with Jackson Flipowitz, who played center for most of spring with Connor Bishop, being limited. We'll see what happens. I was trying to get some spring football talk into this podcast, Jeff.
Yeah. No, so I mean, yeah, honestly, like what I'll say on that end is just you have to be able to be flexible. You have to be able, like, this offense is like you can move so many people in different pieces. and stuff like that. So you just have to be willing to be flexible and do what's best for the team. I think that's the biggest thing. In the past years, you've seen people go from offense to defense. Ryan England being one of them, Xavier Moss being another. So it's like these are people that were very successful in their position switch as well. So I think one thing that I would say, like going into the spring, I even talked to Cole Caterville and stuff like that. He was repping a little bit of slot. So I was like, oh, I asked him, I said, when they move you slot? He's like, oh, I'm going to be playing both, but I'm just getting reps and stuff like that. So just that in itself is just to be able to do both and to learn both is what Army football is about. You got to be able to be flexible. You got to be able to do what's best for the team and help with help with what's going to help the team. Like I saw a lot of position switches. And honestly, the people who switch, it can be discouraging at times, but at the same time, you have to look at it and be like, I'm being put in the best position to succeed and for the team to succeed as well. So.
Yeah, I think this spring, I mean, we saw it back when you played, right? Like we talked about Andy Davidson and Kalen Holt moving from defense to offense and playing fullback. I think that B-back room, they want to, get some guys behind Jacoby Buchanan and Tyson Riley. And like a Shakori Williams. So guys like a Bo Kite, who was a freshman linebacker, maybe now would get a look at fullback and see. I mean, when you're recruited to West Point, like you say, you might come in. I talked to a couple of recruits via Twitter tonight who just committed, and you ask them, what position are they recruiting you for? And, they might say quarterback, or they might say, wide receiver, but there's some flexibility there, right? Wide receiver could be a D-back, Jeff. We don't know, right? You could be an offensive lineman. Like I look at the tackles that they have right now, Shane Buckingham and Simon Dillinger, they were recruited as tight ends, and now they're tackles. Brett Toth was originally a tight end, I believe, and he turned into an NFL tackle, or NFL offensive lineman. So, I think coaches want to get the most out of every player, I think, right?
Exactly.
On the roster. You're not on the roster just to have your name listed on the website, right?
Yep.
I mean,
yeah, they definitely try to use as many tools as they can. And I'll even when I was recruited, I played both sides of the ball in high school, and they gave me the option to either play defense or offense. I had just moved to safety in high school my senior year and got a little bit of repping out there, so I wasn't necessarily fully comfortable playing safety. But even then, I feel like if the coaches would have came to me and said, "Hey, we need you to move to defense," I would have done it because they're putting me in the best position to succeed and for the team to succeed. So I think if you just have that mentality coming into Army, then you're going to be successful.
Yeah, you trust the coaching staff. I mean, the coaching staff at Army, I mean, some of the guys that coach there have been there for a while. Others, Coach Monken are bringing in, have a lot of experience. You look at what they're doing on defense. I mean, what they're doing on defense and what they've done the last couple of years, whether it be leading the nation in yards per game or look at Andre Carter's season last year.
Right.
I mean, that doesn't happen just from Andre. That happens from, the scheme from Nate Woody, right? And all the other 10 guys kind of doing what they're supposed to do to let Andre get a little bit more free and have an impact on the game. So, I mean, he has a lot of just great individual talent, but he'll tell you, man, he's so complimentary of the teammates that he plays with too. And that'll be interesting to watch this fall, no doubt. Hey, update us on what's going on with you. The last time we talked to you, you were pursuing maybe possibly some pro football aspirations, but now it seems like you settled in at Southern University, right?
Yeah. So last time we talked, I believe I was actually transitioning into this job. So I'm assistant professor of military science at Southern University. So I help with the ROTC program here at Southern University down in Baton Rouge. And I still am pursuing professional sports. I'm nearing the end of my 5-year commitment, so I'll be transitioning into looking more towards the professional sports / civilian side of the job and stuff like that. But I've still been training. I haven't stopped training since I left West Point. I've always kind of had that that go-getter mentality of if my body is physically allowing me to do this, I'm going to pursue it. And, it's a blessing that all these new leagues are popping up. You got the USFL, you got the XFL coming back in January 2023. You got the IFL. There's a whole bunch of leagues and a whole bunch of opportunities. And I even had myself, I had the opportunity to go to the Hub Camp in September last year, which is a camp that's held by Tom Brady's agent. And it was out in California. I performed out there. I was performing against some of the top, free agents and even some NFL vets that have been in the league, in and out of the league, trying to get back in. And I performed, and I was able to get a couple of contacts and stuff like that. So just knowing that, the opportunity is starting to open itself up now that I'm going to be transitioning into that next phase of my life, I think that I'll be able to have a better shot. And, an inspiring story that I always, keep in mind is just the Alejandro Villanueva story, how he did his time and he became a Pro Bowl NFL player. So it may not happen immediately. I have a lot of my teammates who are in the league and they're doing very great, and I'm so proud of them. And they're inspiring as well. But I really talk to them, and I talk to them and just ask them, how does it feel? How do you guys feel? Just let them know how proud I am of them, and that they're inspiring me to keep going, because I want to be able to, add my name to the list of Army football players who have made it to the NFL, and even just pro sports in general. So I'm still pursuing. I still feel great. I'm testing really well, lifting good. So, when the opportunity presents itself, I'm going to definitely seize that moment and take my opportunity and play. And then once that time comes to an end, we're going to see what happens next and worry about that next phase of my life. But with the last year, I definitely want to prepare my body for that journey, as well as just finish out my Army career the right way. Mentoring cadets is something that I really take pride in, especially at a HBCU. There's not a lot of minority officers in the fold, so just being able to groom minority officers and give them the tutelage that they need to be successful is something that I really take pride in. And it's really why I took the job, because I know how important that is to me, to the force, and just to the African American community as a whole. Being able to groom officers in a way that will help them succeed and help them get out of some of the situations that they may be in, that they need the military to help them get out of those situations. So I take a lot of pride in the job that I have now, because I know how important it is to not only those cadets, but to their families as well. So
it's gonna be a pretty great feeling where you're giving back, but yeah, you're also providing mentorship, and it's probably you're taking some of the things you probably learned at West Point and maybe as a part of the football team and the brotherhood, and you're probably using those experiences to try to help better other people's lives, right?
100%.
I don't think it really gets better than that at times, right, Jeff, when you can do that. So
yeah, I think mentorship is one of the greatest things that you can have in this world. Like some of my mentors, I wouldn't be where I am today without the aid and the tutelage and the guidance from some of my mentors that I've had, whether it be West Point, outside of West Point, and even the experiences that I had in my West Point journey in my Army career. I wouldn't have been able to have the knowledge to pass on if I didn't go through these things. And I lean on a lot of the stuff that I give to my cadets, and even when I was on the line, my soldiers, I tell them a lot, and it always kind of reverts back to my playing days, because that's where I learned. I feel like that's where I learned the most about not only myself, but just what it really means to be a leader. Because I've always felt like I've been a leader. I was a captain of my high school football team, all sorts of stuff like that. But like what it truly means to be a leader, especially when you're going through something as tough as West Point, in the process of that, what it really takes to be a true leader, and what type of leader do you want to be. I think I learned all of that playing football, and just having the people around me during my time playing. That's what really developed my leadership skills and really told me what type of leader that I wanted to be. And I've carried that forward, and I've been very successful with, being able to mentor a lot of people and kind of pulling people under my wing, and having people gravitate towards me for knowledge, wisdom, and expertise in whatever subject matter it may be. And I really take pride in doing that, because I feel like, my God given purpose is to help others as much as I can. And whatever possible way I can help them, I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to hesitate to do it, because I genuinely get a good feeling helping others, and no better way to do it in the service. You know what I mean? So it was like you said, being able to take the experiences that I had playing football and implementing them in my Army career actually helped me a lot too. Made things a lot easier, because of that team camaraderie, being able to take people from all sorts of different places. Like you got people from California, Hawaii, New York, Texas, all playing on one team, and then you go in the Army, and it's exactly the same exact thing. So you take these different personalities, different cultures, and now as a platoon leader, you have to make it mesh no matter what. Like this has to operate, or else you're gonna end up putting yourself in a bad position. So taking that same thing that I learned at my Army football playing days and implementing it into my platoon leader time and just my officership, it definitely helped a lot. So I definitely give credit to my experience at playing Army football for a lot of my leadership skills.
Yeah, it seems like no matter what the future holds for you, you're always going to be a guy that's going to give back. And you know, right now, I mean, certainly you're going to have your options, right? And who knows? I think Jeff, maybe even down the road, we'll see you back at West Point. You won't be an honorary captain or anything, but I can see you maybe down the road being a guy who wants to be involved in the football team too, in some way, shape, or form too. So.
Oh yeah, that's something that's crossed my mind a lot. Like I said, the program has done so much for me in my life, and just the things that I've learned from playing in that program and being a part of that program, and even going back. I've had people ask me that same question. It's definitely not something that's off my board. It's something that would warm my heart. But I'm always going to make sure that I'm making the best decision for me, my family, and stuff like that. So if that ever comes down to it, and that opportunity presents itself, and it's the right fit for me, I definitely wouldn't hesitate to jump on that, because there's no better feeling than being able to come back to your alma mater and continue to groom and mentor and build that program and that legacy that you're a part of. So.
Absolutely. There. Obviously, there's a reason why Coach Monken asked you back this weekend, right? To be a part of the black and gold game and talk to the current Army Black Knights about your experiences and stuff. Man, that I really appreciate you hopping on tonight and talking to us a little bit about that and also what you got going on. And man, there's just we could probably talk for just hours about your experiences as a football player, right? And then there's so much else you got going on too. So really appreciate second time Jeff Ejekam back on the Black Knight Nation podcast. Jeff, thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Absolutely, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you.